Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 2 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services and looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We feel there is enough negativity out there right now, and we believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are very lucky here today to have Ernest Sumner and Elizabeth Patton from the Gaston Community Foundation. Ernest is the current president of the organization, and Elizabeth is the donor development officer. So welcome, guys. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have just a few questions we're going to get to and learn as much as we can about the Community Foundation. So if you don't mind, I'll maybe start with the smart one in the group, Elizabeth. If you could kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you ended up at the foundation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for having us today. We're really excited to hear about these podcasts. I think it's going to be a great thing to talk about why our community is just awesome. So a little bit about me. I'm from Gastonia. I was born here. My whole family is here. They are still here. So glad to be in Gastonia. And I have a dog named Max. He's a lab, so he's probably my best friend. He's great. A son, Henry, a soon-to-be daughter, and husband. So I love to travel. That's probably my passion, is just getting out there and seeing the world and then coming back to what is home. As far as ending up at the Gaston Community Foundation, I thought I would go into a sports career. That's what I had planned to do. I went to NC State and thought I will go on to work in football and meet all the athletes and have a great time. And from there, I ended up at the Carolina Hurricanes. And I thought, this is great. But I was working in their foundation and helping them raise money for nonprofits in the community. And I thought, wow, I really like this. This doesn't feel like work. It's giving back to the community. So from there, I went on to work for the Boys and Girls Club in Durham. And then an opening came up at the Gaston Community Foundation, and I thought, wow, this seems like the right time to go home. And so that's how I ended up back here.
Well, that's terrific, Elizabeth. And I think, full disclosure, I do need to maybe mention that I have spent 2 stints as a board member on the Gaston Community Foundation. In fact, I think I was there maybe when you came on board, Elizabeth, a few years ago now. So that's great to hear, and we're really glad to have you back here in Gaston County. So Ernest, what can you tell us about yourself and how you ended up at the Community Foundation?
A Gaston County native, a product of Gaston County Schools, a graduate of Wofford College. I'm married, also a native, Mary Dunn. We have 5 children, 6 grandchildren. I spent most of my career in Gaston County working in manufacturing. Prior to joining the Community Foundation, I worked at A.B. Carter for about 30 years. Bynum Carter encouraged volunteer work in the community, much like GSM does. And I served on multiple boards as a director of the Glenn, the Education Foundations, Shield, Heart Society, United Way, United Arts Council, PTAs, and Rotary. I actually spent 2 years in terms at the Community Foundation and served as their treasurer back in the late 90s, early 2000. How I ended up there, the division I managed at A.B. Carter was sold. And Mary said that she didn't need any help managing the house to go find something to do. So, like everyone is told, I went to see Spurgeon Mackey, who's a network, and he said, well, I'm going back into banking, and we're interviewing people to take over my job. Why don't you put in an application? So the search committee, I put in an application. The search committee interviewed me. They proposed me to the board, and the board said, okay, we'll hire you. And that was 11 years ago next month.
Well, that's terrific, and the community is better for it. That's a great story. It's always, for me anyway, it's always good to hear about our hometown, individuals who are being successful in making our own community better. So can you share with the listeners, if we have any, kind of what is the mission of the Gaston Community Foundation?
Okay, simply put, we connect foundation donors with Gaston County needs to enhance current and future generations. In doing that, we do three basic things. We receive charitable gifts, we manage charitable assets, and we give charitable grants. Sounds pretty simple, but there are a lot of little pieces that go into doing those things.
Yeah, there sure are. Like I've been fortunate to be involved with the Community Foundation, so I kind of have a little insight to what you're talking about there, Ernest. Can you tell me about some of the initiatives of the foundation?
Yes, so we have many initiatives. Between our staff of 6 people, somehow we get it all done. Some of our big initiatives are having donor funds at the foundation, which we offer many different kinds, and that allows different donors to contribute charitably to the community. We have a program called the Next Generation Fund, and that allows donors to get involved at any level and kind of give collectively. So we're making community grants together. And Stephen, I think you're very familiar with that program.
That's exactly how I got involved originally. I was one of the charter members of the Next Generation Fund, so it's been a great experience.
Yes, Next Gen's been around since around 2000, and they have given about $190,000 in grants since that time. So making a big impact there. Another initiative that we have is the Community Foundation Run, which is coming up on April 17th, or I guess by the time this podcast airs, maybe will have occurred.
Yeah, that might not have been the best planning for us to do this and get this aired after the fact, so our apologies there.
Oh, that's okay. So it happens every year, and people can be prepared for next year. We always look forward to it. It started as the Community Foundation's 25th anniversary celebration, and it was supposed to be like a one-time thing, and here we are going into our 43rd year of existence and still doing the run. But for those of you who are not familiar with the run, it involves all the nonprofits of Gaston County that are interested in participating. They sign up, they fill out some paperwork, and they are a part of the process. They raise money through the run, and then the Community Foundation matches a % of that. So it's a big opportunity for nonprofits to raise more money. The foundation also has an initiative through grant cycles where we give to nonprofits different programs. All of that money stays within Gaston County. We have a Roberts Miller Children's Fund, which this is probably one that people are least familiar with. It is for children under the age of 18 in North Carolina that have any kind of medical or dental disadvantage and need some special assistance and funding. Outside of Roberts Miller, we offer scholarships to students. So this past year, we gave out, oh gosh, Ernest, what was the number?
118.
118 scholarships to different students achieving different majors, colleges, all kinds of different backgrounds. It's a very diverse scholarship program. And then we have our Teens Changing Gaston County program, which I think Stephen's kids also went through that program as well.
One of them has, and then I have a ninth grader who I am pushing to get the paperwork done. Yes.
Well, it's a great opportunity for teens to learn what it's like to serve on a board. They have $5,000 that they are responsible for awarding to programs led by other teens in the community for nonprofits. It's a great opportunity for teens to start the process of philanthropy.
Yes, obviously it's a great way to introduce younger kids, just like I was introduced to Next Gen. I think when you're younger, you have this image that you have to have all this money, or you have to be able at a certain place in your life before you can make an impact in the community. And I know some of the initiatives that you guys have and are involved with really allow younger individuals to make an impact, but as you pull resources, and so it's great to hear.
Absolutely. Actually, the Next Gen's original motto before I got here was, you don't have to be old, rich, or dead to give and be involved.
I think I still have a couple cups and maybe a T-shirt with that on it. The cups still get used, but Actually, I think the shirt's too small, unfortunately. So what are you, well, I'm sorry, Ernest, anything you want to add to that on the initiatives?
A couple of things that are not as long a term, but this past year we paired up with United Way for the Gaston County Virus Relief Fund. That was 44 meetings, and it pays to take minutes during those things. You kind of, it was a lot of work on there, and but I think we really made an impact on nonprofits here, as well as some individuals and small businesses that were needing help with their power bills. The city of Gastonia was also one of our partners. The last couple of years, we've had some place-based initiatives. One's called Impact Funds, where we had 3 cities within Gaston County where we awarded $10,000 a year to a group of people from those towns or cities to award to within the city limits. So, if it was Belmont, it had to go to Belmont. If it was Cherryville, it had to go to Cherryville. That worked very, very well. And most recently, our nonprofit endowment challenge, where it's an important thing to have an endowment for times like last year.
Sure.
And we matched an amount of money that they were able to raise for if it all went to their endowment.
Right. Yeah, I was another organization I'm involved with is Gaston Together, and
Yes.
We had a last minute. I was chairperson last year of that group, and that group came through with a last minute, getting to the amount needed to match that. So again, that's another good example of things you don't hear about, right? That an organization like yours is able to do. I know this is a tough question because of all the things you just kind of railed off, but is there one thing or maybe two that you might say you're most proud of accomplishing at the foundation?
Yeah, I think one that probably doesn't go with those initiatives, but the initiatives wouldn't be possible without it, was bringing together team members of the foundation. It's the best group of people I've ever worked with. Their talent, they have unique skill sets, creativity, maturity, and one thing, heart, which they give 150% on everything they do. I think that they are incredible assets to the foundation and also for our community.
Well, we all know that nothing good happens right without a team making things work. Elizabeth, anything you'd like to add to that one for you personally?
I would echo, we have a great team, and that's what really makes it all come together. I also think that achievements for the foundation is really on a rolling basis. We set new goals every year. We look forward to accomplishing those, and we reached some really big milestones in the last year. This past December, we achieved over $100 million in assets, which speaks to the generosity of this community. And we also reached over $115 million in grants that have gone back to the community, which is our most important number. That's the one that we want to see continue grow and give back to what is home for everyone.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think I was on the board when we kind of, part of the strategic plan, we set up that $100 million goal. So that's good to kind of bust through that, and now we can set the next one of 100 billion. No, I'm kidding.
3 months later, we're now at 107 million.
That's terrific.
So we're moving forward.
So this might be redundant, but I'm going to ask it anyway because we've kind of laid out a few things why the Community Foundation makes Gaston great. But how, in your own words, how would you describe that? Why is Gaston County better? Because the foundation is here.
I'm not going to use my own words.
Okay.
What I'm going to use is something that a past chairman of the foundation said, Dr. Richard Rankin. And if I may, I'll kind of paraphrase, but it is his quote. It says, why the Community Foundation is here matters. It is a repository of more than just our treasure. It is a repository of our hopes and dreams for this community. It is a place where our vision for what our community should be and can be is made real through philanthropy. As our donors continue to dream about a better Gaston County, they make their dreams come alive through the Community Foundation. We are here to serve the dreamers.
That's terrific. That's I was a board member when Richard was the chair, and I can remember many a meeting when his thoughts and words were kind of inspiring, weren't they?
Yeah.
To go out and do more, to go out and do something. Elizabeth, anything to add to that from your perspective?
I think from my perspective, it's not so much about the foundation, but all of the people in the community. The foundation is really just the place where we pull everyone together to do the great things that we're all capable of. So I'm just glad that the foundation's here to be that facilitator. And I think this community has so much to offer, and the foundation can provide that guided focus.
That's terrific. Looking ahead, what is ahead for the foundation? Looking out 5 to 10 years, what do you think the foundation is going to look like? Are there any big initiatives that you can share, or just looking down the road, what do you envision the foundation looking like?
I think that I think about this a lot. That's number one. Thank you for asking that question. I think that the foundation will be much larger than it is now, much stronger. I think we will have to be a more active convener of community resources and problem solver. But I think we will still reflect the values of this community. There are always a lot of initiatives going on. None, I think, that are ready for birth.
Right.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that.
You could tell me, but you would have to kill me. Is that what you?
No.
Elizabeth, from your chair and what you're doing every day with the foundation, how do you view the next 5 to 10 years?
I view the next 5 to 10 years as an opportunity for growth, for communication with the community about what we do, being more opening to the community so that they know that we are here for everyone as a resource. There is an opportunity or a way to be involved no matter what your role is in this community. And I see us as growing that aspect and being the most approachable organization we can be going forward.
That's terrific. Thank you. So we're going to change gears just a little bit. So if you guys weren't, if you could look outside of the foundation, if you guys weren't involved with the community foundation, what do you think you would be doing?
I'm not
Nothing?
Sure. No. Maybe fishing or something. I'm not sure. I haven't ever thought about that. I mean, for the last 10 years, I can't imagine not doing anything but being with the community foundation.
Maybe, hopefully your board doesn't hear that question thinking I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'll be hearing from somebody like Tim Eford here. What are you doing asking both of them that question? Elizabeth, what about you?
Well, originally I wanted to go into the sports industry. I'd like to say that maybe I'd be there, but I quickly realized when you work in sports, you miss the games, and I don't know that I would have kept on in that path. Probably at a nonprofit. I really think I've found my place in being with organizations that are helping the community.
Yeah, I can. I think you do have to spend as much time as you guys do on what you're doing. You do have to really have a heart for the community and helping others, and that's something that I've witnessed in both of you over the years. Anything that you can think of that I should have asked, or anything else you want to share before we kind of move on a little?
Well, I think the foundation's history is a really important piece of
Absolutely.
how we came to be, and Ernest is much better at explaining that history than I am.
Well,
so.
I'll join you. Go ahead.
Well, we started as the Garrison General Hospital closed in 1978, and they had leftover assets, and with that money, they weren't quite sure what to do with it, but a few community leaders came together and said, we need a community foundation. And I think for the late 70s, that was a really great time, and, looking forward towards the future, putting that money aside, instead of just spending it all at once and helping the organizations right then, they set up something that's going to last forever and continue to give back. So from that time when we started with just north of 700,000, we've now grown to the over 107 million. I think that was great foresight. When the Garrison General Hospital closed, they also had medical supplies that were left over. Those were donated to Haiti. a lot of great things came out of the closing of one door and opening of many others. And I think that speaks to the vision that people in this community have had for going forward. And I'm really proud of that history for the foundation.
I appreciate you bringing that up because you're correct. That's an extremely important piece to understand.
Yeah.
Ernest, anything you want to add to the history?
I think that covers a good bit of it. And
Right.
it continues. You mentioned the Roberts Miller Fund earlier. That was the public contributions that were made to the North Carolina Orthopedic Hospital,
Right.
that they were unsure where that went to. So they decided it would go to, well, actually, I think Becky Carter, who was
Right.
chairman of president of the foundation, negotiated that to the fund there. So we've had that, and we've awarded tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars to kids all over the state of North Carolina.
All right, that's another good take on that. What advice would you guys give someone wanting to get involved with an organization like the Gaston Community Foundation or anything like it? Somebody looking to, when I mean involved in this case, maybe making a career out of it, or what advice would you give?
Okay, I think probably one of the ways you chose is to take advantage of the next gen opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it really, I think we have 150, 160 members now. So it's pretty significant. It's grown over the years since the founding members were there.
I remember the very first meeting over at Ashley Arms, maybe it seems like, years ago.
Yeah.
Chris Pridnia, Natalie Tyndall. Of course, I'm going to forget somebody, but yeah, it was a great start. Yes.
That's a good way to learn about philanthropy. Volunteer for committees, scholarship committees. We have all kind of opportunities there for that. Our run committee, that's been going on for 17 years, and we've raised $22 million in that road race, which has been phenomenal.
I think to your point, there's an opportunity. You don't have to be a board member, right, to get involved. I know that I, even not being on the board, I've reviewed those applications on and off over the years, even when I wasn't a board member.
So we're always looking for volunteers.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lot more than just the 20 or so board members and the staff to get things done, and to the magnitude that you guys do that.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, anything to add to that?
I think my advice is just start with an email or a phone call, or people even message us on Facebook. That's great. Let us know you want to be involved. We'll follow up. We'll let you know the opportunities that are out there and find the best fit for each person.
Very good. All right, so we're going to really change gears here, and this is a podcast about Gaston County, and so these are kind of some of the questions I'm trying to get out there to really get into the important details from you guys. So, first question for both of you: favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Ernest, go ahead.
Banana.
Okay. Mine is chocolate.
So, milkshake or just
Milkshake.
Milkshake?
Oh, definitely the milkshake.
Okay, yeah, I would hope so.
Without a lid.
I would have to.
With a spoon.
Has to be, yes. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Cheerwine.
Cheerwine.
Okay. Eastern or Western North Carolina style barbecue?
This is very controversial. Eastern.
I like a mix of both. I really do. I mix the
All right,
sauces, everything.
Ernest, we're going to have to question our relationship now. Favorite Shield Museum exhibit?
The nature trail.
Oh, that's good.
That's mine too.
Very good. I had to modify this one a little bit today. UNC, Duke, NC State, or Wofford?
The Terriers. What can I say?
Definitely NC State.
Okay. Elizabeth's got my back over here.
I think I won, right?
You are correct. That is absolutely right. What is something very few people know about you that you can share in a public podcast?
I'm pretty much an open book. I think everyone knows me pretty well.
Okay, that was my exact line. I'm also an open book, but I think maybe one thing that people wouldn't expect is I do not like public speaking as much as you would think to be in this role.
All right, that doesn't show. I've seen you speak plenty of times in public settings, so you cover that up very well. Recent book that you've read that you would recommend?
Okay, a book, it's basically a book of readings. It's called Bread and Wine.
Okay.
And it's readings for Lent and Easter. It's basically short chapters and thoughts of authors over the centuries. Surprisingly include C.S. Lewis,
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Tolstoy, Pascal, and Updike.
Oh, wow. I have to. I have made a note of that one. I'll check that one out. Thank you, Ernest. Elizabeth?
Well, outside of Moms on Call, which is my guidance for everything these days, for fun, a book I recently read was Saving Amelie that I really enjoyed. I like things that are a little bit on the fiction side, but have true components to it, especially around war and history.
Well, I appreciate that because I know when I was, when my wife and I were where you are, it was nothing but Dr. Seuss and Curious George or whatever. So I wasn't doing a lot of reading back when our kids were young. So I appreciate you sharing that. So we're getting close to finishing up here. So if you could share, if you don't mind, besides the Community Foundation, which is obviously an obvious one, why would you guys say Gaston's great?
Okay, I would say two basic things come to mind. From Cherryville to Mount Holly, from Belmont to Dallas, from McAdenville to Gastonia, plus 7 other towns, people in this community care. And this makes a huge, huge impact. It's an amazing, and it is different from other places. People here care. Secondly, we have a remarkable geography here. Whether you want to climb a mountain, kayak a river, walk on a trail, fish, camp, you can do all of this. Those are 2 reasons I think it make it.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Ernest, for sharing that. Elizabeth?
A very similar response. I think it's about the people who live here and work here. We have the firsthand experience of getting to see every day those people that want to be involved in our community and the things they're doing to change it, whether it's a nonprofit that is working on a program to help children with hippotherapy or breaking out of their little shelter, or if it's a student who gets out of high school and comes to volunteer after they've worked a full day and everything else, they come to give back to the community. So I think it's seeing every day the people that want to be involved and make a difference.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you guys get to see that often through your work every day in the Community Foundation. So those are terrific reasons. So one more kind of question. I'm looking at my sheet. These last 2 questions are identical. So, what do you know now, or what advice would you give yourself? I was going to say your 20-year-old self, but for Elizabeth, that was just a couple of years ago. Ernest, that was a few more years ago.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self that, you with your perspective that you have now, that maybe you wish somebody had given you, or maybe you've done that to some 20-year-olds in your own life?
Probably 3 words. Learn to listen. Not to be thinking about what you're going to say back. Listen to what that person is saying.
To understand as opposed to listening to respond.
Yes.
Boy, when I was 20, I really could have used that one, Ernest. Actually, probably when I was 45 and I'm 50, I could have used that one. So that's terrific. Elizabeth?
I think looking back, something that I'd love to tell myself is to give Gaston County a better chance. At 20 years old, I was at college, and I thought I would not leave Raleigh, or if I did, it would not be for Gaston County. But I found myself really missing home and the people that are here that make this community so great. So I think it's important to think about why you do live here now and what makes it so important to you. So I wish I had thought more about that. And then as far as advice, I think taking in every moment instead of always planning for the future. And I think that's my type A personality is I always want to know what is the 5-year plan, and maybe I'm not as involved in the current day.
Yeah, life happens while you're planning for the future, right?
It does.
Yeah, that's your first comment is a good one too. I mean, when I was in college, there was no way that Stephen Long was coming back to Gaston County, or definitely not coming back to GSM Services. Not a chance. And here it is, 28 years or so later, and it's worked out pretty well. So guys, listen, this has been absolutely terrific. I can't thank you enough for your time. So if any of our listeners out there wanted to learn more about the foundation or wanted to get involved, how could they literally do that or get in touch with the foundation?
I would recommend they call our office line, 704-864-0927, or check out our website, which is cfgaston.org, or even social media. Like I said, we're approachable in any of those ways. We check it constantly, so we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, that's great. So yeah, check that out. They're typically, I follow the foundation on their social media, and I'll also say that my wife and I, and also our company, has a fund. We both have funds at the Community Foundation, and what that's done for us is just really made it very easy and simple for us to give back to the community. And so if you have that on your heart and in your mind, that's something to also consider. So again, thanks so much for your time, guys. And to your listeners out there, thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about this, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. That's podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com. And you please follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. And you can also find us on most podcast services such as iTunes, Spotify, and the Google Play Store. So many thanks to Ernest Sumner and Elizabeth Patton for joining us today and talking about the Gaston Community Foundation. I'm your host, Stephen Long. To your listeners out there, thanks again for hanging out with us. And please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.